So I feel like I'm learning a lot about Saturn, which as like a as a symbol. And so I don't know. I think that initially the symbolism around Saturn is not particularly appealing because it's like limitation. But it's kind of interesting because we wouldn't have the physical world as it exists wouldn't exist without the concept of Saturn. I just, I think it's really interesting because in our everyday culture, in 2021, we tend not to look so much at mythology and symbolism. And yet, because some of these ideas aren't like extremely defined, but they do actually seem relevant. Anyways, so like it seems really woo to talk about astrology, but I feel like these symbols, they're somehow relevant. Like they've come up for me, and it seems there seems to be a lot to be gained from studying symbolism, and it's something that does take years because stuff plays out and unfurls. And like one of my experiences is that sometimes I create something or I have a thought and it's really intuitive, and then like a while later I understand it better. And to me that's really 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 neat. So I'm fascinated. Okay, I've been watching the Electric Universe, and the Electric Universe is this idea that the interior planets of the solar system actually orbited around a dwarf star called that was Saturn, and Saturn actually was pulled into the solar system, and that happened 12,000 years ago, which is a really really short time frame from the way that we think. Like when we think of astronomy and cosmology, we think millions of years, billions of years. But all of a sudden, there's this potential that actually only 12,000 years ago, the solar system was epically rearranged. I think that's a really, really fascinating idea because we don't actually have a lot of evidence for the Big Bang. If you think about it, the Big Bang does not logically make any sense. You cannot have something coming out of nothing, and it's extremely abstract. It's fairly Kabbalistic. Like, there was a point, and the point started to expand, but well, there had to have something be something before the point, right? Anyways, so there isn't a lot of evidence for the Big Bang. I mean, there is evidence for like stuff expanding. It seems like locally things seem to be growing, but I don't know that much beyond it. Anyways, when I first started hearing stuff like, oh, Saturn was the first sun, I was like, I don't know. But it's really, really interesting because our solar system does have this thing where the interior planets are quite different from the gas giants on the outside of the solar system. We do kind of have there's this distinction between the gas giants and the interior planets. Really, really interesting. And like, yeah, Venus has this spin that is like counter to everything else in the solar system. And it could have been caused by something that was ejected. And like, Mars has tons of evidence of being electrocuted. Like if you look at the marks on Mars, they are best explained by electrocution. So you got to wonder, well, how did Mars become electrocuted? And then wow, that brings up a lot of really, really interesting ideas because like maybe Mars was like Earth's sister planet, and like maybe Mars and Earth were really, really similar. I don't know. Anyways, so this idea of Saturn, well, I've been studying my astrological chart for a long time, and I was never really into astrology because it seemed very abstract, and it just seems like there's different concepts and paradigms for astrology too, and so it seems not that accurate, but a lot of it does seem to play out in my life. And so like I have this thing where Saturn is the nadir of my chart, and it's also conjunct Mercury, and it trines Jupiter conjunct Mars in Pisces for me. And I have no other earth signs. Like I have Neptune in Capricorn. That's like the earthiest part of my chart. So for me, Saturn is actually sort of the earth element, but it's not earth element, it's the confining element. And it's the nadir of my chart. And that's kind of neat. And I've been learning about it. Like I have the longest Saturn return. It lasted like 7 years. I feel like I'm 34 now. And it really started like when Saturn entered Sagittarius. I think I was like 27, 28. And like it really started then. And I feel like I'm like actually processing the learning. And the reason I would say this is like, I experienced a lot of confining situations, mostly emotionally. for the first 3 decades of my life. And it's like, I found myself like now in retrospect, I'm repeating patterns. I was repeating patterns, but I wasn't aware of repeating the patterns because the energetic pattern was coming clothed in different physical incarnations. And it took a while to actually like understand it's the same pattern coming up and up. And like, honestly, a lot of relationships have felt really duplicate. It's like the same relationship over and over. It's actually kind of why I stopped dating, because it's like I feel like I've done the same stuff over and over, and like it's me. It's not me. It's not them. It's me. It's all me, which is really solipsistic. But it's just like, what the fuck is really going on? Like, what is this? What do I really want? Who am I really? You know? And so like, yeah, I've had this like epically long Saturn return where I processed a lot of information from the earlier part of my life. It's kind of weird to be like, wow, I'm 34 and I finally understand myself as a teenager, but you know, better late than never. And COVID's been really strange because it's like, in certain ways it's getting really old, like being quarantined, but it was actually like really a unique opportunity for like, you know, life got really pared down in terms of social interactions and like just everything got really, really pared down. And I don't know that it could have happened in any other context. So that's really, really interesting. And just like, yeah.